The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated Podcast. I am your host, Mike Azalina, and I am joined by a guy who was stalked for 18 holes on Sunday. Regz, it's good to see you again, buddy.
I'm afraid of how long you've thought about this.
I mean, clearly I haven't let it go.
Clearly. But I fear the amount of brain power you've put into this over the past, 4 or 5 days.
All right, so we owe the people an explanation. So we had our golf tournament this past Sunday. Unfortunately, we did not win. We did not three-peat. We came in tied for essentially third, and lost the tiebreaker at like -12. And we left a lot out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we did.
We left a lot. If we didn't eagle 2 holes, we would have been barely -10.
Yeah.
It was not good.
Yeah.
It was not. Our short games were pretty brutal.
Yeah, even if just our putting, like, again, we'd only have to make 3 more putts and we win the whole thing.
Yeah. Anyhow, I don't know when I realized it. It might have been after the short par 5 there, like hole number 5, after they said something to us.
Yeah.
So we got to hole 5, and the group in front of us, the one guy came down and was like, "When's your boy going to the PGA?" He's talking about our buddy Banksy, who's just unbelievable to watch golf, by the way. And, he made some comment about like he's never had someone like out hit him or hit over him or whatever. We watched him hit after that. I don't believe that for 1 second. But after that, it felt like they were watching us on every single hole. And it felt like isn't even accurate. They were watching us on every single hole, like sitting at the tee box, even when they could have teed off to watch us finish every hole. And after the round, I went and actually apologized because I hit a ball up onto the green. Drove the green, by the way. It rolled up. While they were, and honestly wasn't even close to him when we got up there. It was on the front of the green.
Yeah.
And so, I went and being the bigger person. That's my uncle's brother, my late uncle's brother. So I went and apologized. And they basically made the comment that like, we weren't in double digits, like, and told my cousin that if we showed up in double digits, we were cheating. And so that did bother me. It bothered me for the whole week, even though I told my cousins, like, me better than that. We wouldn't do that garbage. But anyway, it's very odd behavior, Regz. And that's what I want to focus on, and not what they said. But it's okay to like watch every once in a while, especially someone as impressive as Banks. Like if you're stuck on a hole, but every hole to sit there and watch us putt out was a little weird.
It was more so that it caused us to have to wait for them. I don't care if you're gonna watch, but like don't make us wait for you then on the next hole because you're like 2 shots out of position because you stood there wanting to count our strokes. And look, he caught us in, like we said, our par streak, which we tend to have on the back 9 of this tournament. So yeah, from watching those holes, you probably wouldn't think that we got very far under. We did most of our damage on the first 9. And then, like I said, left a lot of putts out there on that second half. Again, it's not like, what do you win if you win this thing? A bat and what? Is that it? There's not even like money.
Like some sort of gift card to
Yeah.
well, we won like a free round or something like that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
$40, let's call it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, first of all, to be counting anybody's strokes is ridiculous.
So weird. So weird.
And like it more so ticked me off that they then played so slowly.
Yeah.
They didn't try and catch back up.
No.
So like
No, they truly
the
just watched
people in
us.
front of them would be like off the hole and they'd barely be hitting their second shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just had to wait and wait and wait. And it's like, these things take long enough. Can you just hurry the hell up?
Yeah.
And get on with it?
We could see like where the group in front of them was as compared to them. And look, like I told my cousins they had a fifth guy who was driving around with them. That's my uncle's brother. I jokingly said to my cousin, send him with us next year. He can keep our scorecard. Like just send him with us if he cares that much. Like you said, we were 7 under through the first 9.
Right.
We couldn't do anything on the back.
Yeah.
Like we barely scratched out 5 under on the back 9.
Right.
And one of those was an eagle on the first hole.
Yeah.
On number 10. Like that was the only hole we really did. Then we just went on a ridiculous par streak. But it is what it is. I always appreciate you guys coming and playing, and we'll win it next year.
It's always a blast. There's nothing better than spending the day with you guys. Having some fun, drinking some beer, playing some golf. It's the best. So,
well, hopefully next year the place we go to has the food trucks out.
Well, yeah,
beforehand.
I think I'm not going to blame that brewery. That brewery's awesome. We have such a good time there.
That brewery is sick.
We have such a good time there. It's like the perfect way to start, the day for us. It's fantastic. So I'm not going to
become our.
Yeah, I'm not going to blame them one bit because they're always fantastic with us, and the beer's great. And like you said, usually the food trucks are on time, but.
Yeah, well, that's become a little bit of a tradition. If you live in like the Bethlehem, Hellertown, like anywhere in that area, hit up Lost Tavern.
Yeah.
We have an absolute blast when we go there before the tournament. Like Reg said, the beer is good. The playlists are always on point.
The playlists are always great.
So good. And just go hang out there. They have food trucks there every day. Unfortunately, this time, definitely not their fault.
No.
The company that was going was running a little behind, but we have a nice little day. We go there for about an hour and a half, and then we go and golf for what should be like 4.5, 5 hours, but ends up being 5:45. It's a nice little day. Next year we win.
Yeah,
we take it back.
We will.
We will. All right. We got a night tonight to dive in and talk a little Eagles. And then we're gonna jump into some Philly stuff. I with the Eagles, I'm not gonna linger too long here. Couple of fun little anecdotes from mini camp. I don't know if you heard Jalen being asked about the Super Bowl and just like celebrating that, and his response basically being, we're here to talk about 25-26.
I did.
Like, so classic Jalen.
It is classic Jalen. He certainly buys into the bit, as we would say. Nothing deters him from it. If he was like happy about the Super Bowl for a day, you could tell me it was shorter than that, which is crazy. And speaks to, I know AJ talked about this a little bit, being first time winners of the Super Bowl. They were like, it was almost not universal, but between these two guys, these stars of the team, they were like, I'm not surprised, but AJ was like, I'm surprised how quickly I kind of moved on. And like, look, that speaks to their fanatical need to get better at their profession, and which is why all that attitude helps them win the Super Bowl in the first place, right? All that work ethic and that drive to be the best gets them to where they are. But again, maybe it's just very different for AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts as it is, it might be very different for like the long snapper who probably celebrated for a month and a half, winning the Super Bowl around his, where he lives, didn't buy a drink, for a month and a half wherever he went. It might just be a little bit different for those guys at the top of the food chain.
It's so interesting to me that like he, Devontae, AJ, it seems like Saquon reveled in it a little bit, but those big guns just didn't seem to let it sit for too long. Like they're already on to the next. But with mini camp coming around, and training camp not far away, I did want to just ask, if there were a veteran and or rookie that you're looking forward to hearing all about as camp comes around. I did enjoy hearing like Jordan Mailata talk about watching these rookie offensive linemen at camp and just how impressive they were.
Yeah.
But I am curious, is there a player, and it could be a returning player from a veteran standpoint. It could be somebody that they just brought on, although they didn't bring on like many big name free agent types. It's mostly returners. And or a rookie that you're excited about hearing reports on in camp.
I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but the offensive lineman from, was it Texas? The really young
Campbell.
guy. Thank you. I'm really interested to see what his first year progression looks like.
Right.
This is, again, we talked about this when we sort of discussed the draft. This is a guy who, if he stays in school, probably is a first round pick by a lot of accounts, just because of his size and athletic ability. And look, I think it's much better for him and his development to be in Stoutland University than the University of Texas. And so I'm just very interested, because of his size and talent, to see how his progression goes. I don't think we're talking about him sniffing the starting position, but I think it'll be very interesting to see how he progresses, and if he's truly buying in, and if he's like really, doing what he has to do. Because again, it's such a great spot for him. He decided to still come out. He got picked where he got picked, and like he has to go to work now. And there's not a better teacher out there that this guy could have to, get him prepared to eventually maybe, become a starter in this league. So I'm really interested in that guy and how his progression goes, and like the stories of his attitude and sort of his buy-in, to his role, and how that progresses. And then I think there's a really obvious one, right? It's Eli Ricks. Like, who was
Keely
it?
Ringo.
Sorry, Keely Ringo. Sorry, thank you. I mixed her up. Yep, Keely Ringo. Like, how does he do? Does he, potentially become the starter? All that stuff. I think I'm really interested in Trot Jr. and how this goes for him, because with Dean being out, with Campbell being their first round pick, it's not a weird spot, because I think by all projections, Trot Jr. like projected out to just be a capable backup, wherever he turned into. But does he have an advantage being here for a year, right? Already learning this defense, all those things. Does that like give him the ability to push above Campbell to potentially start? Whereas Campbell maybe has some of more of that versatility and that kind of thing that Fangio loves, where these guys are going to start one place and they're not staying there. And then, 5 people are moving to different spots and you got no idea, because all these guys can either rush or cover and do all the things that I need them to do. I'm just interested to see how that camp goes, how that linebacker position plays out, especially obviously with Dean, being injured for quite a bit. It seems he's going to be out for quite a while.
Yeah. So I'll start with my rookie. It's Antoine Powell-Ryland. I agree about Cameron Williams. I've already talked about how much I love that kid, but Ryland being a guy who they took basically with their last pick at 209, but a position that they're just desperate
Mm-hmm.
and for depth. I thought about Makuba. I don't know that I'm all that intrigued with him. I think, we know we're getting there, at least from a rookie safety standpoint. I'm just so intrigued by the upside of Power Island, like a dude who basically led the country in sacks the last 2 years, being picked at 209, just all on traits. And, if they can turn him into something. So I'm very intrigued by him.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Ringo was going to be mine, but I agree with you. Like, it feels obvious. So I'm going to stick with the theme here. And I'm going to say Azeez Ojulari. This is a guy they brought over from the Giants to add some edge depth. I think of the guys they added, he and Josh Uche, to me, Ojulari is a bit more of it has a bit more firepower and a bit more upside to me. I think Uche's fine, but rotationally fine, whereas I think Ojulari has starter upside. And now he's back with his boys, another Georgia player and someone that maybe being in a winning organization does something for him the same way it did for Mekhi Becton. And you get a really good year out of him that leads him to getting a nice little payday in the offseason. Probably not from the Eagles, but from somewhere. And so those are probably the two that I'm most excited about as we head toward training camp. And definitely guys we want to keep an eye on as we go forward. So Regzy is looking at Trot. He's looking at Cameron Williams. And we're both looking at Keely Ringo. And I have an eye on Ojulari and Power Island.
Yeah,
so we'll keep thinking about
that. Edge battle is going to be really interesting.
It really is,
to
man.
see how
it really is.
Plays out, because essentially, right? If you had to list your most trusted guys, most people are probably putting. I mean, you're obviously putting, Smith up there. But you're probably putting Jalix Hunt second out of just because of the Super Bowl performance and all that. And we got to remember, this is a guy who's coming off being a safety who, look, to his credit, played very well in his opportunities. But we still don't really know if he can be a starting edge in the NFL. And there's really just a group of guys behind him that are a lot of long shots or rookies that you're hoping might hit. It's not a super solidified group. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Keep in mind that, we say Nolan Smith, but he's coming off of tricep tear surgery.
Right.
So, we see him as the one. We know that that there's a spot already saved for both returners. We don't know about Bryce Young,
right,
and what that situation is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So really, you're in a battle with pretty much Young, Ojulari, Uche, Power Island, and there's probably a couple guys that I'm missing right now that just are lower on the depth chart. But really, you've got two guys that you look at as, yes, they're on the team. I think everything else is a battle right now.
Yeah.
And they certainly want, Bryce Huff to take the next step. But who knows?
Well, right.
He was a healthy scratch in the freaking Super Bowl, for Christ's sake.
And was making a lot of money.
So, he's out of the four of those guys, he's easily sitting third on my preseason depth chart out of the four battles.
Mm-hmm.
And I only put Antoine Power Island behind him because he's a less experienced version of Bryce Huff.
Right.
So,
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Regz, good news this week out of the meetings. There were 9 other teams besides the Eagles who aren't jackasses. Need to Need to say that out loud. Let's honor those teams real quickly and then have a quick conversation about the Tush Push.
All right.
The teams who stuck with the Eagles, the Ravens, Harbaugh, you sexy SOB. The Browns, they're good for something. The Lions, good for them. Even though Ben Johnson came out and was like bashing it later.
If Dan Campbell had come out and been against, banning something like this, where it's the ultimate, like, your whole bravado and your whole shtick is like, we go play football and we're not afraid to back down. If he had voted against this, then he's a fraud. So at least he stuck to his own perceived guns, and you can appreciate that, if nothing else.
Jaguars were good with it, which, they were like one of the only teams last year that I felt stopped it, like in that weird game that the Eagles almost lost.
Yeah.
The Dolphins, I feel like that head coach just loves offense and anything offense. So
it's just not going to be against it. Yeah.
Same thing that you said about the Lions and Dan Campbell, I believe about Mike Variable. Mike Variable is absolutely not.
He came out, I think, I think he came out publicly.
Yeah, but you know what? So did Todd Bowles, and he voted against it like an asshole. Well, the team did. He didn't, but the team did, because the owners vote, the coaches don't.
Right.
The Saints and our boy, the only assistant or the only offensive coordinator, well, former coordinator to stick with it. Well, thanks, guy.
Yeah. Also the only one to win a Super Bowl, so maybe the other two felt a little something about it.
The Jets, good for them. Got something right.
What's his name? Didn't also seem like a guy. Who was it? Aaron Glenn, right? Is that his name?
Yeah, Aaron Glenn. Yep.
Didn't seem like a guy who would,
No, defensive guy.
Yeah.
Defensive guy. And then the Titans.
Yeah, I don't know about the Titans. Who knows why? But
yeah, they're a weird organization.
Yes.
But kudos to those 9 teams. Everybody else, go to hell. Regz, my thoughts here are pretty simple. This was clearly an attack on the Eagles for whatever reason. You cannot, for one moment, convince me that this was a player safety issue. Not even remotely close to a player safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot convince me that was pace of play. It's never been a pace of play issue until the NFC Championship game.
Right.
When Frankie Louvu acted like an asshole. And you can't convince me that it's not good for the game or that it's boring. Listen to the crowd in any stadium when they set up for that play.
Yeah.
Everybody, it gets louder. What's more exciting? 4th and 1, that on the 30 or a punt?
Yeah.
And then we go to 6 commercials. Like, what are we doing? It makes no freaking sense. None. And then we find out, well, it's revealed that it wasn't the Packers' idea.
Yeah.
It was the Packers being told they had to do it. Well, that's dumb. First and foremost. If that's true, that makes, I don't even know if that makes them look better. I think it might make them look like they're more of a bitch than they were before.
Yeah, if you want to hear a very good rant about this, go listen to the PHLY guys and Bo's rant about Roger Goodell and why he comes out of this looking like a coward. And I agree with him. I think this was Goodell just not liking this play for some reason. And I'm not sure why he would have a problem with Laurie. He's been an owner for a long time. I don't think Laurie has done a bunch of controversial things to go against Goodell. So I don't know why he would have a stick up his butt about the Eagles, specifically. This was just, he decided he didn't like this play for whatever reason and used the Packers as patsies because they don't have a true owner, right? They are owned publicly, essentially. So they don't have one guy who has his own old man convictions, as we see most of these owners do, right? These billionaire, convictions that sometimes can be a little weird and a little odd, but they decided to go with them because it would be easier to persuade, a CEO of a team who's not truly the owner. And it's even more embarrassing that they couldn't get it done. Like, in the same meeting that you're asking for like an extension on your contract, or they're discussing an extension on your contract. And you you think you have some power, Roger, but apparently not. It was so stupid. The arguments were farcical and like overreaching. And I think I'm more happy for the spite of it than the play being still around. The Eagles would figure something out. They have one of the best offensive line coaches in the world. They would have figured something out. They have almost the perfect personnel to be effective at short yardage plays like that. So I have no doubt that the Eagles would have figured something out. Look, maybe they're not 90% effective at it, but if they come, like you said, they weren't 90% effective at it this year. So it wasn't like this unstoppable thing. I just am so happy for the spite of it. That's what makes me smile the most. That's what makes me the most happy.
They're going to be so petty about it now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be awesome.
They put up a 26-minute video of Tush Pushes.
I
love it.
What they're going to do out of it this year, they're going to be so petty out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're going to be so petty out of it.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be awesome. And it's deserved. I know other fan bases are going to be like, oh, the Eagles fans. Oh. Like, I know that's what we're... Then don't make a big deal out of this.
Right.
Because here's the part that pisses me off more than anything else is that they did this in 2023 after the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. They raised it for a ban.
Yeah.
In 24, when the Eagles melted down, no ban was proposed.
Right.
And now they win the Super Bowl and a ban is proposed again. That's some major league bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it pisses me off. But there's someone said that, well, this is the beginning of the end because they're close. I don't know that you can do it now. Like, because of all the stuff that was leaked after.
Right. Yeah.
All the stuff that was leaked after about it was really the NFL, and the Packers were just the front, like they were the front facing part of this.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can. It looks bad. It just looks bad all around.
It does.
I agree, though. They would have figured something out because the wording was like, oh, you can't push the ball carrier. Then fine. Saquon and Dallas Goedert are now just pushing offensive linemen forward instead.
Right.
And Jalen just falls in behind them.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it becomes then. Like,
yeah.
It still line up the same way. It just Jalen just takes like a half a step back and falls into place with those guys. I don't know. They'd figured something smarter.
They would have figured something out. It again, just the pettiness and the fact that they won despite Goodell being like the stalwart of this just makes me so happy.
Yeah. Well, Regz, here's what I'm gonna do. The pettiness doesn't end here. The pettiness is just starting. And to begin our own very petty work through the Tush Push Brigade and Parade, I wrote a roast of all 22 teams who decided to vote for the ban. So if you would indulge me,
please, for
just a few moments here, I have a one sentence roast for each of the 22 teams who voted for the ban. Atlanta Falcons, 28-3. Boom, roasted. Arizona Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon, F off. Boom. Roasted. Buffalo. Try winning a Super Bowl, then try and ban our play that you actually use. Boom. Roasted. Carolina. Why don't we ban your franchise, you frauds? Boom. Roasted. Chicago. Your quarterback runs like he's allergic to the pocket. Boom. Roasted. Hey, Bengals. Beat Kansas City and then ban our play. Boom. Roasted. Dallas. 29 years. Idiots. Boom. Roasted. Denver. Didn't y'all allow 70 points in a football game 2 years ago? Boom. Roasted. Green Bay. 22-10 times 2. Heck bitches. Boom. Roasted. Houston. Your version of a dynasty is losing in the wild card round 2 years in a row. Boom. Roasted. Indianapolis. The last real playoff run you had was when I was using a damn flip phone. Boom. Roasted. Kansas City. You're a salty bunch of assholes. Boom. Roasted. Vegas. Focus. You have more scandals than playoff wins. Boom. Roasted. Flipping the page. Chargers. The only push you need is off the cliff into football relevance. Boom. Roasted. Rams. You had more fans show up for a Taylor Swift concert than your own damn home games. Boom. Roasted. Minneapolis. Minnesota. We beat you in the NFC Championship game and won the damn Super Bowl on your soft-ass field. Stole my ass. Boom. Roasted. New York. The Giants version. Saquon. Boom. Roasted. Pittsburgh. Thought you were supposed to be a bunch of smash-mouth football players and a smash-mouth organization. My ass. Boom. Roasted. San Francisco. First, we blamed quarterback injuries. Now, quarterback sneaks. Boom. Roasted. Brock Purdy sucks. Seattle. Your biggest contribution to football is throwing the ball at the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl. Boom. Roasted. Tampa. If it weren't for Tom Brady, you'd be Florida's 4th most relevant football team. Boom. Roasted. And Washington. We put up a damn 50 burger on your ass in the NFC Championship game. Take your ban and shove it. Boom. Roasted. Thank you. Thank you.
For those that don't watch the YouTube video, I'm giving my esteemed host a standing ovation.
Thank you. The only one I couldn't really think of one for was Kansas City because I have too much respect for him.
You should have been like,
all I had was
he was our coach first. Boom, roasted.
Yeah. There you go. All I got was salty. I had nothing else for him.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was great.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
really
you. That's
good.
my level of petty. And just going back, Brock Purdy getting that contract.
Yeah, I couldn't believe we didn't talk about this.
Everything I hoped it would be.
I can't believe it.
I can. Fraud organization.
That is gonna maybe go down as one of the worst quarterback contracts ever.
Dude, it's bad.
What
it's
about
bad.
Brock Purdy makes that team feel like they could win a Super Bowl?
I don't know. I've been on the anti-Purdy train for a while now. I really don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand what the love is for that guy.
Why do they feel like, I don't even know what the right word is, but like handcuffed into paying him that much money? Because he went to one. Well, have they been to a Super Bowl with him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They lost in 24.
One Super Bowl and 2 NFC Championship games?
Yes.
Okay.
And the one he got hurt.
With possibly the most talented play caller in quite a while and the most talented offense. I don't know. I know some people, well, you're explaining Jalen Hurts. Well, Jalen Hurts won one. So
Jalen Hurts was the reason they won.
Right. That's exactly
I mean, it
right.
wasn't in spite of Jalen.
Right.
Like, when you watch that Super Bowl, I'd have to watch 58 back, but I cannot think of a single game-changing play that Brock Purdy made in 58. I can remember a game-changing play that Christian McCaffrey made.
Yep.
But I can't remember a game-changing play. Like the Chiefs played in 3 consecutive Super Bowls. Right? Jalen torched them in the first one. And if Gannon had any semblance of a defense in the second half, they've won 2 of 3 seasons now.
And they still only lost by 3.
Right. Right. And then because Jalen was unbelievable.
Right.
And then the next Super Bowl, the Chiefs' plan was very much what it was in this one, which was we're going to make Brock Purdy beat us and not let Christian McCaffrey beat us. And that worked. Now, look, they ended up having to do it in overtime, but they did it. And they tried to beat the Eagles with stopping Saquon Barkley, but Jalen Hurts didn't let that happen. And the best part is that Oren Burks had to play in that Super Bowl for the Niners and didn't do shit. He was terrible. Oren Burks was awesome in the Super Bowl for the Eagles. So the Brock Purdy deal is hilariously bad.
23 for 38 for 255, a touchdown, no interceptions.
I'm pretty sure the touchdown was a McCaffrey. Pretty sure it was a screen.
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He didn't really throw a pass. He didn't really throw a touchdown pass. Like, he wasn't that good in that game. What'd you say? 15 incompletions in that game?
Mm-hmm.
How many did Jalen have this year?
Oh, I'll check. Hold on.
Yeah, check. But the guaranteed money is wild. I think it's like guaranteed like 35 a year. Which, I mean, you've got guys who are getting 50, but I don't think all 50 are guaranteed in a lot of these contracts.
17 for 22, 221, 2 touchdowns, and interception. But 11 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Jalen was great in the Super Bowl. He was efficient. Made all the throws. I mean, the interception was bad. I remember texting you and saying it was bad.
It was. It was
bad. He should have just thrown it away, but he was feeling it at that point. So, but he'd check.
Even
but
for the
at the end of the day,
even in the one before that, 27 of 38, 304, a touchdown, 15 carries, 70 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
They couldn't run it in that game.
No.
I mean, they didn't even try.
Yeah.
They tried in this one. They the Chiefs just credit them. They just stopped Saquon, but they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
In that game. That Miles Sanders didn't even touch the ball.
Right.
Touched it once.
I just don't think, like, McCaffrey with his injuries now, there's no more Debo, right? Ayuk is coming off being hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they signed Kittle. He's on the older side, but still good. Give him his props. He's still a good player.
They have a second-year player from somewhere. The kid from Florida who got shot.
Oh, yeah.
Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall. Yeah. Be curious to see how he is.
But I just don't know in 2 years when, like, a lot of this is on Purdy to carry. Like, is that gonna, like, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't think he's the type. The money they're paying him is for a quarterback who can carry an organization, and I don't know that he can.
Yeah,
I don't know that he can, but we'll keep an eye out. I'm keeping an eye. My Purdy hate watch is pettier than my rant that I just did through my roast. All right, man, we got to talk about the team who is a half game out of the best record in the whole sport.
Yeah, let's do it.
Who would have thought we were going to say that like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Who would have thought we were going to say that? The Phils are winners of 7 in a row. 7 in a row. And look, we know.
Yeah, we're aware.
That we know. We are very aware of who they've played. We are very aware of it. And I'm here to say that I don't give a crap. The Phillies are doing exactly what they're supposed to do to teams under 500. There are 8 teams in here, or 8 games in here where teams did not beat the Rockies like they should have. And in a couple of weeks, the Mets will go into Colorado and they'll have their chance to do that. But the Phillies did something that's very difficult to do. Beat a team 7 out of 7 times in a baseball season. That's hard, man.
Yeah.
That's hard. A 4-game sweep is difficult enough. A 4-game sweep 2 time zones over is very tough. Beating Paul Skeens, I know it was 1-0, but they beat Paul Skeens. You know, they won a Taijuan Walker start. They won Mick Abel's first start. You know, they won a game. Ranger Sanchez was just fighting himself today.
Yeah.
He fought himself on Friday night against the Pirates too. Like, they're winning in all kinds of ways right now, and I think it's worthy of praise. You know, when they were going through the stretch in April and the Mets played one team over 500 throughout April, I said, let's see what happens in May. Because the Mets have a stretch where they play the Yankees, where they play the Red Sox, and where they play the Dodgers. And they're in that stretch right now, and they're 2-4. My hope was 3-6 in that stretch, or 2-7 would be even better. But they're 2-4 right now, and they still have to play the Dodgers. The Phillies get to go to Sacramento and play who I think is a pretty decent A's team. I don't think that's a bad team.
No. They're certainly not as bad as the Pirates or the Rockies.
No, I do think the pitching matchups are in the Phillies' favor.
Yes,
which helps in a small minor league stadium that you get Wheeler, Sanchez, and Luzardo. That works out really, really well.
Yes,
to have your 3 best going in a small stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So, coming off 7 in a row, I don't know that they're going to get to 10. I think that would be just insane. To go 7-0 on a West Coast road trip would just be absolutely out of hand.
Yeah.
But 2 out of 3 would be fantastic. Like,
absolutely, especially
especially with the pitchers you have going. But do you want to start with the heavy thing first and then go into the 7 in a row conversation?
Let's do the 7 in a row first.
All right, let's do it. So, I'm making regs. I picked 4 players and a group that I want regs to rate during this 7-game win streak. He can do it on a scale 1 to 10, but my only rule is he can't use 7. So next week, if they're on a 10-game winning streak, when we do this, he can't use 10. So you're not allowed to use 7, just to honor the 7 in a row. But you're going to rank 4 players and then a group. And we'll start with a player who made his debut last weekend, one that we've talked a lot about, but mostly in the negative sense over the last couple of years. Mick Abel, 6 innings of no-run baseball. I struck out 9. I don't think he walked a single dude.
Yeah.
Scattered 3 or 4 hits over the course of that game. Where would you rate him? Sorry, not rank. Where would you rate him on a scale of 1 to 10 as importance in this 7-game win streak?
As importance in this 7-game win streak, I'd give it
beat Paul Skeens.
He did. Look, he did. I think if we were just rating his performance, period, this would be a very high number. I think if we're just rating it in terms of how important it was to the win streak,
let's change on the fly.
It's different.
Let's rate these on their performance during the win streak.
That'll work. Still not using 7.
All right, so
all right.
Can't use 7 though.
An 8. I think it's an 8. I think with how last year went for this kid, even with how he was performing in AAA, you never know what it's going to look like when they get up to the big leagues. The pressure changes, right? It's still a big league lineup. Like, there's still hitters on that Pirates team. I know none of them are doing very well, but like McCutchen is still a hitter. Reynolds is still a hitter. O'Neal Cruz, despite not being that good, like against righties, can hit the ball like 120 miles an hour off the bat. Like,
Yeah,
they still have guys in that lineup. So I take a little grain of salt to the whole fact that, like, yes, they aren't performing very well, but if you're a kid coming in for their major league debut, like, these guys are hitters and have been around a while. Yeah. So I think with all those things, not going against him, but just in everybody's mind, it was an unreal performance by him. I can't believe how validating it was for him as a baseball player with how last year went and how everybody was talking about him and the drop in the prospect rankings and all those things that kid has gone through over the past year and a half or so. It was fantastic, and I loved every second of it. I was so happy for him, and like for what hopefully this does to propel him back to like that top prospect form, or even just give him the confidence back that, like, I am still that guy.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'm giving him a 10. And the reason for that, there's a lot of reasons actually. I think the performance in general is automatically the 8 that you gave. But knowing that you're out there dueling against the guy, the blue chip, right? This is the blue chip. Now, Paul Skeens had a lot of good things to say about Mick Abel after the game and how he was the name that Skeens heard all the time throughout high school, and he's like, we never met, but you know, I'm pretty sure we came across each other.
Yeah.
And you know, that this was the part that I loved hearing, that when their hitters were coming into the dugout, that they talked about how electric the stuff was. And doesn't matter if they're a good team or not. Major leaguers know it's electric. He's seen a lot of pitching in his day, a lot of electric pitching in his day. The other reason why this was a 10 to me, and we're going to talk about this more in depth, there was news that was dropped earlier in the day that was swirling all around this team. And this kid makes his first major league start amidst all this stuff.
Yeah.
Skeens, the Alvarado news, the fact that it was just his start, right? Like his first start, all of that, and dominated. So I give him a 10. You know, they haven't swept much this year, and in that spot, you and I were like, they're not gonna.
Yeah, right.
And you know, we check later, and sure as shit, they do.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next guy. Bryce Harper.
9.
Yeah, he's been good, man.
He's been really good. And he got a hold of, of a few baseballs finally. But I think the thing that epitomizes where he's been for me over this past, like you said, 7 games is the at-bat he had. Trey got to third, or Trey had just tripled, right? Gets to third. I'm pretty sure they had brought in the lefty was already in. Yeah, the lefty was already in. And yeah. And he's facing, was it still Freeland at that point? I don't remember.
Know if it was Freeland.
I can't remember.
Or the other lefty that they had.
Yeah, I can't remember. Either way, they're just outside sliders over and over and over again. And Bryce, the first little bit of this season, he has been pulling off of everything. Everything. Not getting even close to those pitches. And A, first of all, not recognizing them and just swinging at everything. And B, just being so pull side, it's crazy. And this one, he goes and gets it up 8 inches off the plate, and just pokes it to left field because his only mindset was, I gotta get Trey in.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff when Bryce is in that mindset of just doing his job. Like, he doesn't have to be Mr. Home Run guy. He doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to hit a double here. Like, guys are scared enough of you. Just go up there and do your job. Get the guys in you're supposed to. Keep hitting the ball hard, which he has been. He's been hitting the ball hard. Even on his singles and stuff, he's roping the ball a lot of the time. So I've been very happy with Bryce, with where he's at, and with how he's been trending, because it's a big deal. And you see what this team looks like when that guy is going.
He has been absolutely fantastic. I'm with you. I'm at a 9. Since May 12th, he's hitting .455 with a .513 on base percentage.
Yep.
That's insane. That's insane. And even today, I mean, his OPS is .17. Even today with his RBI double, just smokes it down the left field line.
Yep.
I mean, smokes it down the left field line. He's much more relaxed. Like, the body language in general is just so relaxed. Everything looks, Kepler said it after the game about the team, but you really see it in Bryce, that everybody's just light right now. The mood is light.
Yeah.
And winning these games certainly helps when you play bad teams too.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I know it's the storyline right now that he shaved his head, and since then it's been all up, but I mean, it at least lines.
It does.
It aligns.
I like it.
All right. I it's funny that I did the 3 guys because I think as these 3 go, the team goes. So the next guy is Trey Turner. I'll start with Trey.
Yeah.
And again, can't do 7. Trey had like one of these 7-game stretches where you have some at bats where you're like, Trey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You have other at bats where you're like, that's my guy. But he's starting to put a little more air under the baseball. This is a tough one because typically I would put him at a 7. I'm having a hard time putting him at an 8 because I don't think he's just a step below Bryce during this stretch.
And 6 doesn't feel like enough.
It doesn't. So that's what makes this hard, right? It's what makes it hard. I'm going to give him an 8 out of necessity. I think he's been important during this stretch. I think he's had a bunch of big hits. The defense has been, I said it on this show last time, and he went into a stretch where the defense was putrid.
Yeah.
So Trey, don't do this to me again. But the defense has been good, and the swings for the most part have been better. There have been a couple of bats here and there where you're like, dude, no. But the way he's hitting the ball forcefully to right field right now. And last night, he and Bryce did the thing where like Trey leads off with a single. Bryce follows with a single. Trey hits a home run 2 innings later. Bryce hits a home run right after him.
Yeah.
It really just goes to that point of, as these guys go, this team will go. This was the type of series where we saw exactly what they can be when they're taking the right approaches, swinging at the right pitches, and making good contact. I mean, they average like 7 runs a game in these last 7. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Again, bad pitching, we know. But not everybody has, even your good teams don't have 1 through 5s that are ridiculous.
But I
right?
also remember us facing these guys in Philly, and we looked terrible against these same pitchers.
Well, we didn't really hit the starters the first 2 nights.
Yeah, Freeland and the other guy, the first righty that we faced.
Yeah, Senzatella.
Yeah. We did nothing against those guys the last time we faced
Well, we
them.
didn't really, to be fair, we didn't do much against Freeland this time.
That's fair. That's fair.
We didn't really hit him. But here's what I will say as a whole, not even necessarily about Trey. I do want you to talk a little bit about Trey. But I can think of many seasons where the Phillies played one of the bottom feeding teams in baseball and didn't win.
Absolutely.
So this is a if you're just joining the fan base, do not take these wins for granted or say, "Oh, it's just the Rockies." No. Because even your good Phillies teams, the teams that went far, couldn't beat the lowly Marlins.
Right.
Like couldn't beat the bad teams in the National League. So don't take it for granted. All right, your thoughts, your ranking and thoughts on Trey.
Yeah, I definitely I'm going with an 8 as well. I think 6 is not worthy of what he's been. Look, has he been? It's still. I think you'd still love for him to hit the ball a little harder. We've seen some of that, like you said, in this Rockies series. There are the, like, from at bat to at bat, it could be very different. Like one at bat, you're like, man, he's locked in and he's seeing everything. In the next one, you're just like, whoa, is that the same guy that we're watching? So look, there has been that. I think if nothing else, we talked about this maybe a pod or two ago. I think when we were giving out apologies, I'd much rather be starting where we are. I'd much rather this be where we are starting, and we're going to slowly push towards the more line drives, right? More maybe lifting the ball a little bit, instead of when Trey gets homer happy, it's atrocious. Yeah. Everything about it is wrong. And he can't even do little things. He can't even just get singles because he's just lazily popping out all the time. So look, if it means we get some broken bat hits more often, for now, I'd much rather be here than power happy Trey, because that guy sucks. Like that guy drives.
It's no fun to watch.
That guy drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's not fun to watch.
So I would just say in that case, I'm very happy with where he continues to be. And I'm hopeful that we're starting to see, okay, my timing's good. I feel like my swing is good. I'm going to start to try and maybe drive the ball a little bit more. Right? I was really just focused on good pitch selection, getting balls in play, getting on base for my guys. We've checked that box, right? We're not getting rid of it. We just know we're there. We're happy with where everything's at. Now we're going to get to extra base Trey. And I think we can stop there. I don't need home run Trey. Don't need him. Don't want him. Don't need him.
Yeah.
But if we want to start getting towards extra base Trey, sign me up.
It's accidentally going to happen though. The more
that's what I mean. Yeah, we've seen it. Right, we saw it a few times where he's starting to punch it out there much better. Yeah.
Well, I think the 8 is fair on both counts. We're going to go to our next guy here, and then we got the group. I'm going to give you a stat on the guy before I tell you his. But there are 2 players in Major League Baseball who are in the 90th percentile or better in both hard hit rate and chase rate. Both guys are actually in the 96th percentile in both or better, but they're the only 2 above 90 in both.
Okay.
One is Juan Soto, believe it or not.
All right.
Which I don't believe, but okay. The other is Kyle Schwarber.
Yep.
Kyle might have the lowest statistics in terms of the guys we're talking about within this group of 7 games. As a matter of fact, there have been a couple of times where you and I have texted like, Kyle, we need that there, right?
Yeah.
It's happened. But man, is it hard not to give this guy a 9? Like it's so hard. because it just feels like every at bat's a good at bat. Like
Yeah.
I can think of one at bat, and that's when you know you're going. When I can only think of one at bat where he swung at bad pitches, and I was like, wow, that was a bad at bat.
Yeah.
Like they get mixed up for guys like Nick, who has been pretty consistently bad in this 7-game stretch.
Yeah.
They get mixed up for Trey when he's going bad. Even Bryce, we could think of multiple.
Absolutely.
But like right now, Kyle's probably having his coldest, maybe second coldest stretch of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But still hit a ball 470 feet this week. And then the next night, hit one out to dead center, which is just huge.
Yeah.
I know what the air is, but that's a freaking bomb at that stadium. So it's hard for me not to give him anything other than a 9, just because his presence alone changes everything.
Yeah. I think a 9 takes into account maybe a few, like a series or two before this, these 7 games, which I'm not, let me just say I'm not opposed to, because I think he's been that important in like the carryover to get this team to this point. So not opposed to it. I mean, the lowest I would go would be an 8. It's not, again, I'm not giving him a 6. Like you said, it's interesting that out of the guys we're talking about, he probably, like you said, has the lowest numbers over this 7-game stretch. But I think he continues to like be such a better protection than anyone else for Bryce. They just like Nick and Bohm just aren't striking the fear into the pitchers that have to face Bryce Harper. Like Kyle is, despite what's, he's a little down right now. So I think, in that sense, I still think he's been great. Got the big milestone, obviously, which was awesome. And I just continue to be very in on this 1-2 punch, even though they're lefties and all that stuff. I'll continue to be in on it until Kyle, for some reason, leaves his body and turns back into a lefty that can't hit lefties. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I mean, the guy's hitting like 370 against lefties right
Crazy.
now. Unbelievable. It's truly something to watch a guy get better.
Yeah, it's
and become one of the best hitters in baseball at the age of 32.
Yeah.
It's why that he needs to be a Philly forever. One other thing about him real quickly before we jump to the is what Bomer said about him on Monday night. Must have been Monday night. After Bomer hit the go-ahead home run.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Kyle was joking with me. Schwartz was joking with me before I went out there. He's, roughing me up a little bit. And I think those are the things about Kyle, right? That even add to his importance.
Yeah.
Like these guys love him.
Yeah.
They love him. And it goes without saying how close this clubhouse is. But, as much as you sign this guy because of what he does on the field, I think, the way we felt about Gene Segura and how much he was beloved in the Phillies clubhouse. Shout out, Gene.
That's right.
Congrats on
Happy retirement. Yep.
Happy retirement. I think the love of Kyle Schwarber is just, it's just not even.
Yeah.
Tim Kelly. It's impossible to describe.
Yeah. Tim Kelly had a really good article for On Pattison. He wanted to, the premise was, I want to understand what's a good clubhouse guy. It wasn't to go in and say, how good is Kyle Schwarber at this? It was, everybody talks about clubhouse guys. Like what defines that for you? And he asked a bunch of players, guys who haven't been here that long, guys who have, and almost unanimously, despite mentioning other guys, right? Strom mentioned some San Diego players. Other guys had other people to talk about. But almost unanimously, when they talked about the Phillies, it was Kyle. And it's just his ability to be able to talk to everybody. And in those moments, be able to rib somebody about like not hitting homers, but you know it's coming from a good place, right? It's coming from a place of someone who's like trying to give you that confidence. So I think there's a huge difference, right? Some guys can get away with that kind of stuff, and some people can't, just because you know that they're only half joking and they're really just trying to stick it to you for whatever reason. And I don't think anybody feels that way about Kyle.
Right. I'm gonna try and find that article.
Yeah. So it's like you said, I really hope he never wears another uniform.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, there it is. What makes someone a great clubhouse guy? I'm going to save that to read one. Also, did you see well, we'll talk about that in a moment. All right. The last part is the bullpen. And this will lead nicely into what we want to talk about here when we're done with this part of the conversation, because the bullpen became a story unexpectedly and probably sadly on Sunday when the news broke about Alvarado. And since Sunday, you know, they've had some good stuff. They've had some not so good stuff. They have had to use guys in certain situations. You know, they used Carlos Hernandez in a 3-run game on Monday. He was fine. They used him last night in a 5-run game. He struggled. Tanner Banks mop up, which seems to be his role. Ruiz had a scoreless inning in a blowout, which was fine. Orion came in with runners, I believe, on first and third today.
Yep.
Threw one pitch, got the out. That was good to see. Threw the fastball, broke a bat. Love that for you, Kyle. Jordan Romano has had 2 saves over the last 5 days, both of 2 or less runs, and looked dominant in both. He is on an absolute heater right now. Strami wasn't great today. I'll be honest. I didn't love his 8th inning.
Yeah.
But you know, he pushed through. Regz, this is a spot where I'm willing to give a 6, and why I'm giving a 6, like, is because I'm not seeing it. Like, there's not the guy that they can go to right. We don't have the guy. Like, Jose Alvarado was the dude. And while I like Jordan Romano, I'm not there with him yet. I trust him. He's the top of the trust. He's the top of the trust ladder.
Mm-hmm.
I think the trust ladder for me is currently him. And then the second tier is empty. The third tier is Strom and Kerkering. The fourth tier, I'll throw Tanner Banks on just because of his role. Like, not high leverage, but what his role is. And then some mixture of Ruiz, Hernandez, and I don't love what's happening. I know they're going to have to figure it out, and we'll talk about it. But Alvarado really put him in a bad spot, man. So for me, they're a 6 at best.
Yeah, I agree. I think luckily we've seen Kerkering come in and get out of some situations, which is what we talked about was going to be his role. Was like, he's got to be the firefighter. He's coming in to put the fires out.
Better.
That's what Hoffman was. Yep. That's what they wanted him to be. He's been better at that. I admittedly said when he came in first and third, after Ranger went out, that I was like, well, crap, he hasn't not given up a hit in a lot of these situations, so this should be fun. So that was the fun part about that. But look, he came in, he missed his spot by a mile, but got the guy to swing at it and pop it up, and Bryce made a good play. I think Marchand was setting up outside for that slider, and he jammed him inside with it. So that is what it is. But look, an out's an out, and I'm not going to complain. He came in, he threw one pitch, got the out. We'll take it. So the Strom thing, he just doesn't. He's not getting guys. He's not putting anybody away. he's just not. He can't strike anybody out right now. The stuff just isn't there.
He got a couple against the Pirates, but today he got the first one on a bunt. Then he gave up a single, and then a couple fly ball, and then Marsh kind of saved him.
Yes, that was a really great play by Marsh there.
Was a great play. He read that really well.
But just the stuff isn't popping, and like he seems like he's really slowing down on the slider. Like said, people see it coming, and something's still weird about him. Yeah, and then you just get to a place where you're just like
a bunch of guys.
You're just like, I don't really want any of these guys in big situations. Hernandez is a no. Like Ruiz, we saw him do it a little bit, but I still don't trust him.
No, he's actually taken a major step back.
Yeah. Banks.
I'm a big Ruiz guy. Yeah.
Like Ross, again, I think he's fine at what his job is, but I don't think he's
actually forgot him. I
he's doing all right. I'm not going to say he's been terrible. Like he hasn't been terrible by any means.
I actually will put him in my tier 2. I do trust Joe Ross right now. A lot. I do.
He's been
really
pretty good.
I always forget Joe Ross. Every time we talk about the bullpen, I always forget Joe Ross.
Look, I don't need to repeat everything you said because we're not disagreeing on a lot of things here. It's
no.
It's still it's a big deal. And let's hope that the offense can continue to score a lot of runs, and that they can come into these games and it doesn't matter if Hernandez gives up 3 runs, right? It's fine. Just get the outs and let's go home.
Yeah, Regz,
but
I don't
it's
know,
like,
man.
If they get into a situation where they have 2 tight games in a row, like it's a bad place to be. They're not in a good spot.
Yeah. No, and it's look, they've got 3 with the A's, an off day, and then they have 6 straight with Atlanta and Milwaukee at home. And just for context, Ronald Acuna Jr. is back next week.
Yep.
So that's a fully loaded Braves team coming to Citizens Bank Park. This bullpen worries me a lot. That being said, and I need everybody to listen, we cannot expect Dave Dombrowski to get on the phone right now and make a trade.
Yeah.
Everybody in baseball knows what they need. And if you think you're getting a big time reliever for nothing, you're out of your damn mind. And I don't believe that they should dive in the waters, right? This starting staff should keep you in games long enough on a nightly basis.
Yes.
That hopefully the offense, like you said, can do enough to give you a 3-run lead, and maybe you can just steal innings here and there.
Yep.
Like today, Ranger did enough to get them through 6 2/3. So now Kirkring's available tomorrow.
Right.
I would think that Romano's available tomorrow. He threw like 8 pitches today.
Yeah, I think it was 10, I think.
Strom's probably not. Now Strom hadn't thrown a lot this week, so he might be. They blew out enough games that they didn't have to use these guys. So that's good.
Yeah.
And you have an off day Monday, which is good too. And you do have your 3 best pitchers, your 3 best starters going this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's the end of May. I know they had reached out to David Robertson. I know that, we have a love-hate with David Robertson.
I'd like to respectfully pass.
Yeah. However, Regz, he costs no prospects.
That's true.
And honestly, he's probably better than Ruiz and Hernandez, even at 40 years old.
I might debate that, but okay.
Well, let's put it this way, Regz. I don't know that it can be much worse than what those guys get.
That's maybe a better way to put it. Yeah.
Or like even Max Lazar.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? That's kind of where my thought process is. Because even just last year, if you look up David Robertson's numbers, he was pretty good. He was pretty darn good last year. He might honestly be saving himself, ring hunting a little bit.
Yeah.
And he knows that he's not going to be able to give a full season to a team.
Right.
Sort of like Pedro in 2009. So, you get a half a season where the guy can come in and give you all that he's got for 3 months. Because I'll tell you right now, our boy Jose can come back somewhere around the 18th, 19th of August. If you don't think Topper is going to throw his arm off in that 6-week span, you're out of your mind. Topper's going to use him every day.
He better be practicing his up downs.
For 6 weeks, that dude's going to throw every day because he's not going to be able to give a shit in October.
Yep.
So he's going to be out there all September. Regz, I'll say this. They're going to try and figure it out a little bit internally. I do think that a guy like Robertson makes some sense. They did sign Lucas Sims yesterday to a minor league deal. He has history with Caleb Cotham. He's a guy who has some upside, and they're going to just see. He had some success in Cincinnati when Caleb was there. And then when the trade deadline rolls around, they'll acquire something.
Yeah.
Now, the internal piece of this becomes important. They have a plethora of starters.
Yeah.
Regz, when Nola's ready, I would truly see if Taijuan Walker can give you late inning, high leverage success. I would absolutely give that a run. I would take a look at Mick Abel and see what he can do out of the bullpen in AAA. I know that he's a starter, but this is a guy who's taken down a lot of innings over the course of his early minor league career. So this is a way to pull back on some of that and transition him into a bullpen role. When you get to the postseason, you have what I would say is two options. One is Ranger moving to the bullpen. And at that point, I think it's very fair. You don't have to ask Scott Boris's permission. If you wanted to move him there now, you absolutely have permission.
Right.
Because that's just a bad look for future players that come here.
Yep.
There's a way to go around that, a way to do that if they want to do it now. They're not going to do it. They would have already done it.
Right.
But if the other option is, so option one, when you get to the postseason, say Taijuan goes there, he's successful, great. You bring on David Robertson, he ends up being pretty solid, great. Then you don't necessarily need to make the move at the deadline.
Yeah.
Because you're going to move one of your starters into the bullpen. The question just becomes which one. Maybe it's Mick Abel. Maybe he moves it. Maybe they bring him up and they let him come out of the bullpen for 2 innings.
Yeah.
The other option, and this is hingent on Aaron Nola. If Aaron Nola is pitching well, you could talk about putting Christopher Sanchez in the bullpen. And I know that sounds crazy, but this is a guy who's already got his money, right? He's also lethal with the pitches that he has. Imagine Chris Sanchez coming into a game in the 8th inning to face the middle of the Braves order. Or not the Braves, the Dodgers. The top of the Dodgers order.
Yeah.
You face Ohtani, you turn Betts righty, you face Freeman. Like, that is lethal. So they have options. They're going to have to look internal. They're not making a move right now. If you want them to, stop. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And it'd be dumb because everybody's going to hold them up.
Right.
So I know I just ranted there for a little bit. Thoughts? Alvarado just really put him in.
Yeah, it's a really tough spot. And I think you're exactly right. I think Gelb had an article about this where he talked about, like, look, these next few months when they don't mean as much, but this time is going to be used to figure out internally what they can do. That's what these next couple months is going to be, or month and a half, whatever you want to call it. They'll obviously, like you said, go get somebody at the deadline. Who that is will depend on how this month and a half goes, because they'll have to, they still have to assess where they are truly after they sort of exhaust all their internal resources. And then like they do have guys who could go into the bullpen and could like have the stuff to do it. Like, look, do I want Nola starting a playoff game over Chris Sanchez? No, obviously. It's not breaking news there, but it's an option. Like, the guy throws hard. The guy has that changeup. That's disgusting. It's like, it is a thing. Even Luzardo, like a guy that throws that hard with the type of pitches that he has, like, it's possible. We know the Ranger thing. Again, he's done it before. I did not debate, but I wonder a little bit if this version of Ranger, like, has the stuff to do it. It's a little bit different. You know what I mean?
Playoff Ranger, though. Playoff Ranger.
You're not wrong. And until he will, be on my good side until proven otherwise. So
right.
There are options. They're going to move guys up and down. They're going to bring guys from AAA. They're just going to like be churning through some people to figure out what they got. And that's what we have to like do right now. Let's hope like this offense is built to be able to like win games though by a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not, and like you said, this starting rotation is built to not give up a ton of runs. So it's very possible that they'll have the innings necessary to continue to use internal guys. And we'll just see how it goes. We just have to see how it goes. It's a really tough spot, and it sucks to lose your best reliever for the playoffs.
Yeah, and he did it. He did it to himself.
And look, we're certainly not blaming anyone else. It's just really tough.
Yeah. The other thing to consider with the bullpen and look, if Nola's not good, I know there's a world the Phillies can look at it and say, you're not starting a playoff game.
Yeah,
man.
right.
Sorry. Like you're not on the roster. Like they did it with Walker's 18 million. And I know all Nola's done like everything he's done for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
However, they want to freaking win.
Yeah.
And you can't have a guy going out there when you don't know when he's going to implode.
Mm-hmm.
In a playoff game.
Yeah.
You just can't. So, there's a world where we get an Andrew Painter playoff game where he's an opener and he throws 3 or 4 innings and then Ranger comes in off of him for 3 innings. And there's your deployment of Ranger Suarez in the playoffs. Ranger Suarez after Andrew Painter feels ridiculously unfair. That's Jamie Moyer after prime like Pedro. That and not that, please hear me. I'm not saying Andrew Painter is Pedro Martinez. The comp is velocity to non-velocity. That's the comp. Folks, settle down. But that's what that would be.
Yeah.
And that's a world that I could see like Ranger being effective in the pen because they need another lefty. They simply need another lefty.
Yeah, right.
It's just not going to be enough with Strom and Banks.
Yeah.
So as I think about what this pen could look like come the postseason, hear me out. This is without a trade, Reg. Right? This is without a trade. I'm just checking my numbers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It would be 9 because you only carry 4 starters technically in the postseason. So if their 4 starters are Wheels, Luzardo, Sanchi, and Painter. This is your bullpen without a trade. Banks, Strom, Ranger. Romano, Ross, Kerkering, Abel, Robertson, Walker. No Hernandez, no Ruiz. You basically replace them with Abel and Walker. Abel and Walker. Mm-hmm. And Robertson replaces Lazar.
Yeah.
And, if you're still getting high leverage innings from Romano and Ross and Kerkering figures it out again and Strahm figures it out again, and maybe Walker supplants himself back there,
Nothing's in there.
then, cool. But I do think when Walker moves back to the pen, when Nola's ready, or when Painter comes up, we're gonna see some high leverage Walker innings. We are. And if they feel like Abel can make that move to the pen, I'd prefer him helping us now and as a starter next year than, oh, well, you know what? Let's trade him for like a middle reliever that got
right.
Or trade him for Helsley as 1 year left on it. Like, this is it. This is it for Helsley. But we're going to trade freaking Mick Abel for him? No. I don't want to do that. If we can use him to come in big spots and throw freaking 100. Dude, he's throwing 99 in the sixth.
Yeah.
Tell me he couldn't come in and hit 101 and just pour gasoline on the ball. I don't know, man. Alvarado, I'm so mad at you.
I know. So disappointing.
I'm so mad because I love him. Now we can't do the coffee.
That's true. Well, he might have a lot more time. He might have a lot more time on his hands.
Yeah, but we don't want to do it. We don't want to advertise. I'm upset with the guy, man. It's just it sucks. It sucks. So, all right, man. Anything else for the good of the people?
No, that was good. That was fun.
All right. Well, folks, if you haven't already done so, click subscribe on the YouTube channel here below. Go over to your social media at the Mic Drop 5, at Big Regz with a Z on Twitter. Head on over to Facebook, the Phixated fan page. Sorry. On TikTok at the Phixated Pod. On Instagram at the Phixated Podcast. Click the merchandise link in the show description below. We appreciate you being here and listening to us this evening. We'll be back next Thursday with another episode that'll be recapping the Braves series. Believe it or not, we're hitting that second turn with the Braves. Ronald Acuna in tow, Spencer Strider back. So we'll see the whole gang back together. Until then, be kind to yourselves, be kind to one another. Tell someone that you love them. Phils, let's get 10.
Let's do it. Packers, you suck.
My God, deep to right field, way up there and way out of here. The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.